How's our guy BC doing? Is he gonna head to the parade on Friday? Do we have a parade report?
Shams, you tell us. How do you think he's doing? Look at this guy. Yeah, he's great.
He looks like all the fans I saw last night leaving TD Garden.
Yep,
bingo.
That is
plastered. You're plastered right now. It's okay.
Whoa. He's a professional. He's not even smoking a cigar just yet, although he did have a great time last night. I FaceTimed him as the game was ending last night, and boy, the look of pure joy on his face dancing around his apartment. I assume you saw a lot of that in Boston, and thank you for your coverage all NBA season long.
Great season.
Congratulations on a great season, Shams. Let's get to now the topics of discussion. Tatum's about to sign a $300+ million deal, I guess. When is that taking place? And that'll lock down the two pillars for the Celtics for the next 4 or 5 years, right?
Yeah, the Celtics and Jayson Tatum will start beginning talks on that 5-year, $350 million deal. That'll happen after everyone's sobered up. The whole team is in Miami right now.
Whoa.
They're having a great time.
Hell yeah.
And then the parade is going to be Friday. I would expect some point after that, Jayson Tatum, his agent, the Celtics get down to brass tacks. I mean, at this point, it's really, does he have a player option? What are the kickers? What are the bonuses? But the Celtics moved quick on Jaylen Brown last year in the summertime, getting his extension done. He became the highest paid player of NBA history when he signed that 5-year, $304 million deal last summer. This year, a summer later, Jayson Tatum is going to become the highest paid player in NBA history. But this is just going to start the trend. Nikola Jokic, Luka Doncic, there's going to be players here that come to follow. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. One of these days, a player is going to end up making $90 to $100 million per year. That point's not going to be the next couple of years, but Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Luka Doncic, Nikola Jokic, all are going to be in line for massive supermax extensions in the coming years as well after Jayson Tatum.
Oh, and Joker's horse just won. Congratulations to Joker. Obviously, his horse got a big-time dub last night as the NBA season was wrapping up in Boston. And how does this work, Shams, just for somebody that doesn't pay close enough attention? In our league, the NFL, you can't just give everybody the biggest contract on earth because there's like a salary cap and other shit like that. How are they able to just pay people more money than anybody's ever been paid in back-to-back off seasons and still have everybody on their roster? How is Brad Stevens some sort of wizard? How does this work out?
Essentially, luxury tax and second apron. Those are interesting phrases. Those are obviously, the luxury tax. There's tax payments in every league, really. And when you think about the NBA, the ownership groups that are willing to pay and spend the top dollar, and that was the question around these Celtics is, they go year after year after year. Jaylen Brown, you think about his 8 seasons in Boston. They've been to the conference finals, I think 4 times. They've been in the finals twice. Now they finally won it. Jayson Tatum, similarly, they've been to the conference finals. They've been to NBA finals. But to keep these teams together, it is expensive. The Celtics will be among the teams that are going to end up paying the most luxury tax next season. They're going to be faced with a heavy tax bill. When you think about, you have Jayson Tatum, you have Jaylen Brown, Kristaps Porzingis is locked in, Drew Holiday's on a massive deal. Derek White, you're going to need to re-sign to a massive extension as well. So your top 5 players, your starters, they've got the best starting 5 in the NBA, and that starting 5 is going to be also the most expensive. And when you think about it, they're going to have Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum at over $600 million combined over the next 5 years once Jayson Tatum signs that contract extension. So,
and ownership just says, you see this TD Garden, you know how many beers we sell here?
Have to be just willing to pay top dollar. And we saw Joe Lacob do it year after year. Steve Ballmer's done it year after year. And if the Celtics didn't win this year, then you would have heard questions about the roster. Who do you keep? Who do you trade? But this is a team that's doubled down on their guys, especially Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum. Everyone wants to pit these two together. I remember I spoke to Jaylen Brown one-on-one last year. What he told me is he knows he's a part of Jayson Tatum's legacy. He knows that they're part of each other's legacy, and I think they're going to be intertwined for the remainder of their careers.
Yeah, and it seems like they get along just fine. One's 27, one's 26. And I was reminded today by Hembo that when Jaylen Brown was drafted, it was not a very popular draft pick. And then obviously Tatum never gets the conversation about being the future of the NBA ever. So those two have probably felt pretty disrespected alongside of each other for a long time. That can grow quite a bond, even though it does feel like the national media, sports media, basketball media has been trying to say like, well, who's the alpha here? Mm-hmm. And that entire thing. They seemingly don't care about that at all. And if they're both wealthy, It's like that settles that entire potential pettiness as well in Boston. It's been brilliantly run, seemingly.
Yeah, to that point, too.
Titles cure everything.
Yeah, legit.
That's it. It's
Winning
all about titles. That's all it's about. Winning in titles, and the fact that they both really respect each other. That's the biggest thing. There's not this ego. There's not this one guy might be better. There was a couple years ago where a lot of people were asking, should the Celtics trade Jaylen Brown? And what did Jayson Tatum do? He went out publicly. He said, I want Jaylen Brown here. I don't want him gone. He went privately, said the same thing. And they had conversations about Kevin Durant a couple of years ago, and they made offers that included Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown didn't let that affect him. He kept through it, and now he's a Finals MVP.
That's awesome. Go ahead, Connor.
Yeah, Sean, to the point about the draft, too, the first pick and the second pick were Lakers and Sixers in both of those drafts. So, people who are pissed off as Sixers or Lakers fans, you kind of screwed that up on your own. But we were talking about this earlier as well, Shams. At what point did Brad Stevens kind of know, hey, I'm a great coach, but at the same time, I was kind of born to be the president of basketball operations. Like Danny Ainge said that when Brad first got promoted. But is there any thought that he'll ever go back to the bench to be a coach, or will he be the president of basketball operations for Boston for the next 25 years, hopefully, and keep this thing going?
Brad Stevens will be there really as long as he wants to keep doing the job, and as long as this run and this core group can stay together. I mean, that's going to be Brad Stevens' task, is continue to build around these guys and really keep this team a championship contender, because they've got a window here. When you think about it, we thought Denver might have had a window, but some of those guys, fluctuating in play, and they don't have the star power that this group has. This team legitimately has a window here over the next 3 to 5 years to be a dynasty of sorts, similar to what we saw with the Warriors. They should be in the They have been in the conversation already, but they should be in the finals really every year. Next year is going to be championship robust for this team as well. For Brad Stevens, it was interesting. He was so good so early in his NBA coaching career. He was really looked at as a wizard. I mean, there was talk that he was as good as really, any coach that's taken, step foot, as a coach. But you saw near the end of it, and he spent 8 years as head coach there. 8 years is a really, really long time. And when you don't get to the finals, when you don't win at all, those 8 years become challenging. You can make as many conference finals appearances as you want. They never made to the NBA Finals with Brad Stevens. And I think it took a lot of self-awareness for him to realize, hey, we need to find someone else. There needs to be a new voice. And he did that. And he was part of hiring Ime Udoka. Then we know what happened there. And then bringing Joe Mazzulla in. Joe Mazzulla, Brad Stevens, they've been attached. They're really close. Brad Stevens is, the one thing you kept hearing, even last year when Joe Mazzulla's job was under fire at different points, you kept hearing Brad Stevens supports him 100%. That's his guy, and we're seeing it. He's got a lot of Brad in him, but obviously he does things his own way. He has interesting press conferences. Joe Mazzulla is his own human being.
Yeah, Joe Mazzulla is a dog. And there's a chance he goes down, when it's all said and done, as the greatest coach in the history of basketball. And obviously the people around him have a lot of belief in him for good reason. And he seemingly has a mindset of somebody who's never going to be satisfied. So any coach that I've ever met that's been worth anything is normally a never satisfied person, because we got to get better tomorrow. We got to win today. Yeah, you just won last night though. Yeah, but tomorrow somebody else is doing something, so we got to do something, and we got to beat them at it. And that's just like how coaches are. Might come across as miserable for some people, but boy, after a win, inside what they feel, you'll never ever feel. And that's like the coach. That's a coaching like DNA, and he seemingly has it and has had it since West Virginia, which is awesome to see.
Look at that emotion. We weren't seeing this emotion during the regular season.
Yeah, bingo. That's the only reason he does it.
Yeah. Exactly.
They have 10 minutes of happiness.
Yeah.
Oh my God, he's coaching.
Very similar to Belichick.
Bingo.
Even how he handles the
Saban.
media and the post game stuff, like his messaging. And then obviously he saves it for that celebration in the arena till 3 a.m.
Nobody
Been
cares.
coaching on a torn meniscus since March, needs off-season surgery. Just a dog.
Yeah, and legitimately, now has a resume. They were like, because there's a lot of people. I saw some people, not a lot of people, but some people say, "Hey, Joe Mazzulla, you're not Bill Belichick." Okay, Bill Belichick has 8 rings. Okay, you're the youngest coach to make the NBA Finals. You can't just act like Bill Belichick in your press conferences. That's not how this works. I saw people. That is not how we feel. I do not feel that way. I love Bill Belichick's press conferences. I love however the hell anybody wants to handle their press conferences. But people are saying now he's the youngest coach to ever win a title since 1969. It's like he can do whatever the hell he wants because he has already shown that he's successful.
Joe Mazzulla, Bill Russell, not a bad category to be in. Not a bad category.
Congrats, Joe.
Hell yeah, Joe.
Congrats, Joe. Now, who's another coach that can maybe fall in there? Go ahead, AJ.
Yeah, Sean, speaking of coaches, JJ Redick looks like the deal is final in LA, so congrats to you. It sounds like you were correct the whole time. Yeah. What's the deal look like, though?
We
Sean?
saw it on the internet.
Yeah, feels like
you did.
And Jay
Will
Will.
he get a similar deal that they offered Hurley? Like, what's the money like? Do you have any idea?
And Jay Will also said this morning on Get Up, I believe.
Yep.
He said,
go
ahead.
There's not an agreement as far as I know for JJ Redick as of right now. We're speaking right now, almost 1:45 p.m. Eastern time. Where this stands is JJ Redick went into LA on Saturday and had in-person meetings for multiple hours with the Lakers brass, with Rob Pelinka, the general manager, vice president of basketball operations, ownership as well. I'm told his meetings on Saturday were very impressive. All the characteristics you see in JJ Redick that you could envision in JJ Redick, those all shine there. Of course, we don't know exactly what kind of coach he's going to be until he's in that seat. When you deal with adversity, when you deal with losing 3 games in 5 nights, when you deal with a player, when you deal with the locker room issue, like there's things that come about. You guys all played. You guys have been a part of it. We've covered it as well. There's always issues that come up. How will JJ Redick? How would he handle that when he's in that situation? But listen, as far as where his situation and where he stands in this process, I said it May 24th. I said June 4th. And his status as the front runner to be the next Lakers coach has not changed since those dates, and it has not changed now. I think what the Lakers are doing now, what Rob Pelinka and that group is doing now, is taking the next few days after the NBA Finals, now that JJ Redick is done with his finals duties, and now finally get to making a decision and getting to it as far as the head coach. They do want to have their head coach in place by the draft. The draft is next week. So last thing you want to do is be going through a coaching hire on draft week. So time is of the essence for the Lakers.
Time is of the essence, and obviously for a while now we've been talking about J.J. Redick becoming the Lakers head coach, and then I wonder if he was just talking to Pelinka. He was just pulling up clips from Mind the Game. Just like I said. The question you're asking here is, how would I run against this defensive front, whatever. We actually got a clip for you here, and I'm talking LeBron. He just runs it like that's his pitch deck. This is exactly what I would do. And they 100% watch that podcast, right? Whenever Lakers front office people, when they were wondering if J.J. Redick could be a head coach, because I would assume, and this is me just taking a guess for a guy that's a former player, now he's getting into coaching, when he was on teams for a very long time, I think he made the playoffs for I forget how many years straight.
It's like 13 straight years.
He was on teams that won. I assume he was looked at as a player coach, like I assume did a lot of leadership shit on those particular teams, just the way he handles himself, and now he's getting into coaching. So I assume he thinks he's a lot more experienced than people think he is because of what he's been able to do as a player out there. But like him going, he has to win immediately.
Yeah.
Right? That's what has to happen. And one of the stars of that team is going to go down as one of the top 2 greatest players of all time. And now he has a massive question mark. Go ahead, D-Bud.
Yeah, and obviously we're talking about that like it's an interview process. LeBron allegedly was spotted sitting down with Nick Nurse, Daryl Morey, Josh Harris. Obviously those guys, some big wigs in Philly. Any chance Bron leaves L.A. this upcoming offseason?
I cannot confirm that picture.
What are you talking about? We can see it right there, Shams. Put the picture back. Let me see it.
Black guy?
That's LeBron.
6'8".
I can't confirm the validity of that picture, but
what do you mean, like AI made it?
Yeah.
What do you
Come on,
what do you mean?
dog.
What are you talking about? Validity. What does that mean?
I mean, listen, I haven't gotten any sense other than LeBron James and the Lakers. The Lakers want to give him any contract really in order to keep him. I think there is a.
He says, "I know if this is a real photo. I've never seen it before." All right, okay. Hey, that's what you're saying right now. That's how we need to view this. Is this a potential fake? This is a fugazi potential.
We're gonna look into it. Pat.
Okay.
You know, you
It's
son
on
of
the
a
internet.
bitch.
The internet we never know what's real and what isn't real. But obviously, this would be a massive ordeal, would it not be, if it was taking place? And are these meetings taking place for LeBron? Because we all assume he's opting out.
This would be massive massive levels of tampering if this were real. But we're gonna look into it. I mean, listen, for the Lakers, they have wanted to bring LeBron James back. I think there's been an interest with him as far as, being in LA. This is where he's been the last few years. And obviously he's got up to 2, we've said it here, he's got up to 2 more NBA seasons, 1 to 2 more NBA seasons left. Does he relocate? What happens with his future? We'll see. His player option is on June 29th. The good thing for LeBron James is he's going to know exactly where his son Bronny James is going to be before then. And I do think his player option decision will go up until the 29th. The draft is next week, Wednesday and Thursday. We'll know exactly where Bronny James goes. Does he go to the Suns in the first round or the second round? Does he go to the Lakers in the second round? We're going to know that answer before LeBron James has to decide in his future. And it's hard not to say if the Lakers draft Bronny James. Is that a tip in their cap? Does that help them out in terms of inciting and wanting LeBron to be there? And I think him and JJ Redick, it would be really negligent for us to sit here and say that if you're the Lakers, if you're anyone that's looked into JJ Redick as a head coaching candidate, that you're not looking at his podcast with LeBron James, the way he's able to break the game down. And when you talk about him as a player, he's a basketball genius, and he's a hoop junkie. He loves to talk about hoop. And I think those are qualities that you need to have, because when you're a head coach in the NBA, Pat, your work ethic, you're tireless. This job does not end. And if JJ Redick understands that, if he knows that, he's built for it. And I think he would be built for that challenge. And at the end of the day, he has to want to coach really badly. And from what I'm told, he does.
Okay, so all indications are that JJ Redick, just like you said, during the playoffs.
Wait, who?
Well, you shut up.
Hold on.
We get it. Okay.
JJ Redick.
Yeah.
JJ Redick. Okay.
So just like we thought it would, though, with the playoffs ending and him calling, felt like it would be a situation where maybe distraction, but then now that it's over, it feels like all roads lead to JJ Redick being the Lakers head coach, which is obviously LeBron James co-host in that podcast. And then if they were to draft Bronny as well, remember they said that LeBron James is not a part of the hiring process.
No, he's not.
Remember, that is not. And we all thought that was stupid if that was true, but also we know that's probably not true in this entire thing. It's like, all right, here we go. They need to do.
He has stayed clear from this process.
Of course he has, yes. But if they hire his podcast host and draft his son, that would certainly be.
The big thing for the Lakers and for JJ Redick potentially as head coach would be Anthony Davis and his involvement, because there were plays down the stretch of the game in the playoffs last year in the regular season where you saw Anthony Davis, his touches wouldn't be there in the fourth quarter. So that's why you hear a name like James Borrego. They laughed in New Orleans. They had the relationship from New Orleans, and James Borrego being an offensive-minded coach, being able to prioritize Anthony Davis. But if Anthony Davis and JJ Redick can get aligned on that, can get aligned on the offensive side of the ball, I think that only bodes even better for JJ Redick, because this hire is not for next season or the next 2 years. This hire is for 4 or 5 years. Anthony Davis will be a Laker if he wants to be longer than LeBron James has left in a Laker uniform.
Okay, all eyes are on all the drama around the court for the next few months as the NBA offseason officially launched today after the Celtics win their 18th NBA title. We can't thank you enough for joining us all season long, Shams. You crushed it, man. You crushed it. Now, don't sleep, though, because we need these breaking news the second it happens. You're the man, ladies and gentlemen, Shams Charania.
Yeah, Shams!
I'm on fire. It's NBA on the ESPN.